This is a very special episode of Back to the City. I'm on location, thank you Gabriel Roderick, at the house of Gabriel Roderick. Mm-hmm. We know Gabriel from Treading North, of course. There's a new project called UNDOERS, which is a two-piece. Gabriel and Jack Stanek from Treading North.
Yep. And
the two of you will be playing at the benefit for Lauren Smythe on Thursday the 26th at Mortimer's. Lauren is a mutual friend of ours. Could you explain how you first encountered Lauren?
Yeah, so I grew up at Calvary Baptist Church. I went there throughout my childhood, and my mom still goes there and is on the board, and I believe she's also like one of the elders there. Kind of met Lauren through my mom because Lauren was the youth pastor there, and so kind of worked closely with my mom. I forgot, I went to high school with Lauren as well.
Oh really? Which high school was that?
South High School. And she was actually in Pop Singers with my brother.
Is that the name of a band?
No, it was like choir, but like, you know, the cool choir where you sing pop songs. And so yeah, I kind of knew her before meeting her through Calvary.
But got to know her and her values presumably a lot better through the engagement in the Calvary Church.
Yep.
So if you were at school with her, when Lauren was 10, Lauren was diagnosed with scleroderma, which is an autoimmune disease.
Yep.
And she's been dealing with that for the last 15 years, since she was 10. Very recently, she's been diagnosed with other autoimmune diseases and also with fibromyalgia.
I feel like I've heard that disease before, but I don't know much about it.
So it involves an amplification of all painful sensations, and it affects the way that the brain processes pain signals. So Lauren is effectively always experiencing so much more pain than anyone who didn't have that condition would be experiencing. So she's obviously been having a very difficult time of late, and myself and various other musicians in her songwriter community have been coming together to put together this benefit. Thank you very much for being a part of it.
Well, thank you for helping her out, being part of that community.
You're welcome.
It's beautiful.
It is really special that, you know, so the night's going to open with 10 acts from the Motorway community, which is where I know Lauren from. And to have a community that is so tightly knit of songwriters who are processing their pain through songwriting, and to have those people be there for one another. It's not just in the case of Lauren, but there's been many other cases recently where that community really is, in the truest sense, like a real family.
It's so rare to see that, I think, especially these days. Like, to be able to find community just in general is really hard, but music and coming together around music is a way to do that. And it's really great.
That's something that you've talked about before in relation to Treading North. What's the difference between the type of community and, you know, that kind of existential component with Treading North, and then what's happening now with the duo?
I mean, my first thought is just, you know, there's more people with Treading North, and when we practice, you know, it feels, you know, the music is big, you get really into it, and then there's also just the, like, you know, the gathering aspect, like there's a family in this room, you know, and now with just me and Jack, right now at least, we're much more focused on songwriting and kind of putting all of our energy into that, and then we also live together, so we're already kind of in community pretty much every day. So when we come together to write music, it doesn't necessarily feel like a gathering. It's just like, we're here to write music, we're here to kind of process that.
So how does the songwriting process work then? Presumably at this location.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through the process?
Yeah.
In this room? Is this the room where the music is written?
Well, we were just down here last night, so we were doing some writing down here. But most of the time we're up in my room, and Jack is usually the one to start with the music. He'll start playing something and I'll be like, that's good, keep playing that. And
on the basis of the live streams, that you guys did. I gather that must have been happening quite often. That's good. Keep that.
Yeah.
Because there was improv every week.
Yep.
And those were some really strong songs to be improvised on the spot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been really helpful for us in our songwriting because that's essentially what we do. I mean, he'll start playing something and I'll just start singing if I'm into it, and I won't really have any words. I'll just be doing melodies, and then I'll take what we've done, and then I'll hunker down and be a hermit for a little while and churn some lyrics out.
Will you be working with a recording, say, of what Jack has done and playing that through? And
we'll record stuff onto my phone and I'll take it back and write the lyrics.
Yeah.
But we are starting to do a little more collaboration on lyrics too. And then also Jack has some songs that he's written that I'm starting to learn. And
okay. And those will also be part of Undoers.
Yes. Yep. And hopefully we'll have one or two ready to go for the Mortimer show.
Nice.
So,
yeah. And hopefully we'll be able to get some live footage to sync up with the sound from the board.
Awesome.
To help you post. Awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, you're welcome. There is a recurring focus in the lyrics to the new Undoers songs on undoing, on rewriting, on erasing.
Yeah.
So in the song Escape the Massacre, erase the tracks back home. In the song I Wish I Was an Animal, rewrite all the rules by virtue of following the example of the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does it mean to undo or to rewrite or to erase? What is this? What's the significance of this recurring focus?
I mean, I think it comes from just looking around the world today that, you know, so much is wrong. So much of the way that we are doing things is oppressive. It's based in genocide. It's based in murder, violence. And then looking within ourselves, like how does that affect us? And you know, here in America, like being a country built on that, how does that affect us emotionally, mentally? How do we undo that? How do we unravel that and rewrite and create, kind of re-till the soil? I think that's kind of where all those lyrics are based.
I find I Wish I Was an Animal particularly interesting because there's this contrast. On the one hand, every time the rain would fall, they were tested in their faith. But then it couldn't compare to the dread of all their people being erased and imprisoned by the state. Could you expand on that contrast?
Yeah, I think I was coming from a place of like, there are natural occurring disasters. There are things we can't prevent. You know, the rain falling, hurricanes, tornadoes. You know, I broke my neck diving into an ocean. You know, that wasn't somebody else doing that to me. That was natural. But then being imprisoned by the state, these are people in the upper echelon of wealth doing this to other people, you know, and that doesn't feel natural. That doesn't feel right.
It seems rewritable and undoable.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the relationship between the way in which the music sounds and this notion of undoing?
Yeah. Well, the music right now is very introspective. It's kind of dark. It's very emotional. And I think right now me and Jack are kind of looking within. Like that's what we're doing right now. And we're interacting with our pain. So I think that comes out in the music a little bit.
Yeah. There was a reference to faith and the risk of loss of faith in that lyric. What is the role of what manner of faith in Undoers?
I mean, you could see that as like faith in God, some kind of God. I don't know that's where I was coming from. And I've kind of moved away from the church in the past 10 years. But I think that comes more from faith in ourselves, faith in our ability to push through and survive.
Yep. To push through and or to undo.
To rewrite, you know, to be in a place where we can rewrite.
That was my reading of it when I
Yeah.
when I encountered that lyric and when I listened to the recordings that there are.
Yeah.
And that in turn made me think of the old Treading North song Julia. She knows who she is more than you ever will. So what is the significance in this context of self-knowledge? Because you were talking about like going through one's pain
Yeah.
and using that as a way to be able to kind of to push forward.
Yeah.
And working on undoing internal damage, emotional damage. So what's the significance of self-knowledge and or working on the self?
Well, it's funny, tomorrow is the 10-year anniversary of my accident. I've been using my creativity, my writing, my digging within myself to move forward. And you can't move forward unless you interact with your pain, unless you recognize what's happening within yourself. It's impossible because you're always weighed down by whatever has traumatized you, whatever ails you. You have to interact with it, whether it's physical or whether it's emotional. And that's what I've learned. I wrote that song Julia it was actually about a friend of mine I used to live with. She had a lot of pain in her life. Kind of from a distance, I witnessed her kind of go through her history, and the household we lived in was very based in community and togetherness. I feel like I watched her grow, and she always was like, she was so direct, so honest. It felt like she knew who she was, and she was unapologetic about it.
And you saw her kind of transform more and more into that during the time of living together in this community. What was it, do you think, that facilitated that development?
I think it was being with the community that we had, We would sit in this living room and...
So it was here?
It was, yeah. We would sit in this living room and gather and just talk for hours. I know for me, like, that's a beautiful healing space when you gather with people you can be honest with and talk to.
So simply communicating from a real place about one's pain.
Yeah. And I think there's that way, which I think is beautiful, but there's also the way of kind of solitude, of like meditation and writing and kind of going there yourself and not being scared to do that.
If a community, so the type of interaction with the community that you were just describing is what enables us to continue in the same good direction if we're already on the right track.
Yeah.
Like being able to communicate with someone and be seen, we can move on. What different things are necessary if what's needed is not to move on in the same direction, but rather to reprogram and to undo?
I think creation is one. Like, creating things is a way to begin undoing, because it takes honesty and confidence to put your emotions, put your thoughts onto paper or clay or an instrument, whatever it is. That to me is liberation. If you're able to do that and do it honestly and unapologetically, like, that is what undoing is. Like, that's where it begins. That's not like how it all happens, but like, that to me is where it starts.